Hello, this is Grant. It's been requested that I do a walkthrough solve of a big hypercube. So today I'm going to be doing a solve of the 4 to the 4 and just kind of walking through what I'm looking at and what I'm doing throughout the solve. This isn't meant to be like a full tutorial and will only really make sense if you have a little bit of hypercubing experience already, but it should give a few pointers, and you can always slow this down if you want. So yeah, we're just going to get into it. Let me just double check. I did, yeah, okay. I turned animations on so that you can see the solve as I'm doing it. I need to plug in this keyboard. Okay. But yeah, so I'm just gonna give it a full scramble. My first filter just shows all of the centers in one filter, and I will just look for any big chunks, and so there's already a few good nice ones. So here for purple, there's already one that has 4 on the same center here. Yellow has this 3 chunk and a 2 chunk, and then there is also, yeah, green has 2 chunks of 2 also. So I'm going to start with yellow, just because that's a nice color. I tend to mess up the color scheme a little less if I do white or yellow as one of the first 2 centers. So I'm going to start with that, and I'm probably going to hold it here, because then I can do this, and then it also is lined up to put those next 2 together, and then just make the rest of the center. And then we'll go to white, which is also very nice. And so it's a lot of just kind of slice, put it back, or then rotate it somewhere, and then slice again for the centers. And so then I was just doing pink here. Now I'm going to do purple because it has nice chunks also, and it's lined up right across here pretty well. But really I'll just do whatever center I see first that has like a little bit made already. And then, yeah, just go from there. So now blue, and then making sure I get my color scheme correct. Orange, and then I'll do green, and then the last 2 are pretty straightforward. So then we have all the centers finished, and we move on to ridge pairing. So I treat ridge pairing as if they're 4x4 edges. So you're doing kind of like a simple slice, flip, slice type thing. I don't do any like free slice because it would just get kind of complicated. There's like so many ridges on the slice because there's ones on the I cell, on the O cell, and everything. I'm sure there's a setup you could do for that, but it hasn't been worth it for me to try to keep track of stuff like that, especially with everything like not visible due to piece filters. And you can line it up, so like I could line up these orange ones, these white orange ones, to be across from each other, so that I could do a slice, flip slice. But I find it faster, like they were originally lined up like this, to do a slice and then turn it on the top layer. Slice, turn, slice, and then just keep doing them like that. And that's useful because also like when I have this where there's 3 ridge pieces on one and just one separated, then it's really easy to line it up to do a slice, rotate, slice. And then you really just get to do that a bunch of times. So there was the red one. And so it's good to get used to the using the layer masks to turn inner layers. For me, I just use pretty much the default controls, so I hold, like to do these flips, like to do these pink ones here, I hold 2 and U, and then move over, and then up, and then do that slice again. Some people change those keys to be in other places, but I just got used to them here, and it's worked for me, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Oh, and so that was a good setup right here. So here, when you have, there's 2 on the left, and then 1 flipped with them, and then this one, I line it up opposite, so that I can do this, and then I do a rotate and a flip, and so you can do that all in kind of one go. And yeah, we'll just keep doing this. I'm not gonna talk about every single one, because I'm doing the same thing for every ridge, just a bunch of times in a row. Sorry if I'm messing up a little more than usual. I am not, yeah, like that. I'm not used to the animations So hopefully those are helping you guys follow a little, and also don't feel bad if you have to like slow down the video. But yeah. So continuing ridge pairing, I have it set up so I do the white ridges first and then the yellow ridges last. So in that case, I did do a flip. So here I did slice, flip, slice, just because when I went to the next piece filter, they were just already set up. So it's not like that worth it to like change the setup, but if I'm gonna set it up into something, I'll do the slice, rotate, slice instead. But yeah, like I was saying, I do the piece filters this way just so I can kind of have a sense of how far I am. You could do that with any set of colors though, you just get used to the filters so you know like how many you have left. So I'm in the last 6 ridges now, which for even bigger hypercubes, like for 5 to the 4 and especially like 6 or 7 to the 4, the last couple ridges can start to be a little trickier. Like you actually have to think a little bit on like what you're doing, put a little more thought into it, but for 4 to the 4 it's not bad at all. And so now we get to the last 2 ridges, which can get some interesting cases. So I'll solve one, and then you can see we have different orientations for this last one. And so there's a few different ways you could do this, but I've developed just a few simple tricks. You can get this case and one other. You can get this case, wait, that one, yeah. Or it can just be solved already. But once you figure out like why these cases can happen, they're not too bad. On even bigger hypercubes, they get a little harder. The different like misorientations on the final ridge, but for 4 to the 4, it's not bad at all. And then we move on to edge pairing. So for edges, I treat them like 4x4 edges with RKT. So I line them up kind of opposite here, so I can do a slice, flip, slice. So I'll slow that down for the next one. But I line them up opposite, I do slice, and then I flip the edge, and then I slice back. And once again, I just show 2 with each filter, and this also gets really repetitive. So I'll just kind of go through these, but but yeah, it's once you get used to the rhythm of doing these things, it's not too bad. Most of the solve you're doing kind of the same things. But ridge pairing on like bigger hypercubes can get really fun. And center building, it's just intuitive block building, and it can be really, really fun. I like solving the bigger puzzles because I can just kind of do it, let my mind wander, just, I mean, not quite relax, but it's nice. Anyways. But yeah, we'll do these. And once again, I'm not really going to explain everything I'm doing here because it's the same as those first couple ridges, but like I just line them up opposite each other and do that. There is another thing you can do where you can slice and then replace the edge and slice, but because of how I have my piece filters set up, I don't normally do that just because it takes a little longer to set up for like a speed solve. So like example, if I set up these ones like this, then I can even here, if I do it like that, then I could do 2 edges at once, which is what I would do if I was, when I've tried to do like 4 to the 4 FMC more, is I've done it kind of like that. I don't find that worth it to set up during speed solves, just because it takes a little more effort to set up those cases, but that is something you can try. Is that all? Yeah, okay. So we're getting into the last few now. And then, yeah, so the last 2 edges there were pretty simple. On bigger hypercubes, you can get something different, but yeah. And then this is just a 3x3 solve, except you can get some parities, so I'm just gonna go, or 3 to the 4. A 3x3 solve, I guess, yeah. Like, I don't know why I said 3x3. This isn't our typical 3x3, but I'm just going to kind of do this without explaining it too much either, but doing F2LA. I can solve with 3-block also. I just haven't practiced enough for it to be faster than my CFOP solving. Oof, I also haven't set up, I haven't solved 3 to the 4 in a while, so some of my controls are I'm a little rusty. Anyways, doing F2LB. Yeah, if you have any questions about solving any of these puzzles, feel free to let me know. I'm totally willing to make more kind of simple videos like this if it'll help more people solve these puzzles, get into hypercubing, continue in hypercubing, whatever it may be. I still feel relatively new to hypercubing. I just started, I mean, when would that have been? 4 years ago or so? But yeah, so getting into OLC now, there is another case you can get like this. I don't know why I moved that over again, but like OLL parity, you can do like a full OLL parity alg, or you can use more 4D techniques and makes it a little easier, but that's a fun case you'll run into on even layered hypercubes. And then into OLC. Oh, that was really nice OLC, just, okay. And then we gotta permute the 2 C's. And then we are into a 3x3 solve with RKT. So whenever I'm doing RKT, that's the time where my keybinds aren't really default, because I have extra keys for the like RX and RX prime turns, so that I can hold the layer grip for I down and do RKT a lot quicker. But other than that, I just use default controls. So here we have PLO parity on 4x4, and I recently switched to doing a way to solve it that is very intuitive. It's a lot nicer than what I used to do, where you do like a slice down, flip that edge, and then slice down on this way, flip the edge like in reverse, and it makes it pretty satisfying. So you can slow down what I did just a second ago if you want, or use that kind of brief description. But if you can solve the 4D cube and you can solve PLO parity on a 3x3 cube, then you should be able to figure it out eventually. But anyways, yeah, that was a quick walkthrough solve of the 4 to the 4. Hopefully this was helpful to at least one person, then it would be worth it. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any other questions or anything else you want me to cover.